Sorry that took so long. So here's what happened. I rearranged my room very minimally, in that I shifted my desk over and moved my plants and stuff there, which meant I had to move all my gear, all the pedals and everything, which meant rearranging them all and then figuring out how to arrange them back in a way that was that would produce sound. I thought I'd done it because I tested it with the loop pedal, doing like just testing the beat, and I was like, okay, so everything's fine, and then just no sound would come out of it. I got a heavy buzz and then no sound from the guitar, and I was like, oh Christ. So we spent about 20 minutes figuring that out. But let me just pop out the chat so I can make it bigger and easier to see for myself, and then we can get started chatting about shit. Hello Harker, how's it going? That's better. Right. So first things first, let's take a look at the wine, and then we're gonna add to this tune a bit. Once we add to this tune, we'll fill out this tune a little bit. But let's take a look at this wine. So actually, you know what? Let's fill out the tune first, and then we'll start in the wine. I want to see where this one goes. But let's fill out this tune a wee bit. Now that tune's filled out a bit. Let's crack into the wine. How is everyone? I know it's certainly going for Harker, which we can all appreciate in times like this. Speaking of Harker's Australian, and one of the fun stories this week, I guess fun, is less fun. I mean, someone's being attacked for, you know, for racism, but the racism, I think it's an Australian women's footballer, correct me if I'm wrong, for calling a cop a white bastard, which is just, you know, what an insult, especially for a cop. Okay, so we've got a new wine this week. It's it was on deal, obviously. It's called Dark Horse Chardonnay, and it's from California. So we got Californian wine today. Exciting. Let's see what it says about. Yeah, for anyone who's new to the stream, basically, I drink a bottle of wine, and you watch me get increasingly irate about various topics and fuck about. Today we're obviously because there was a video out, we'll talk a bit about the video, and you know, anything else that happens to pop up. The vibe is generally pretty chill. Yeah, Sam Kerr, absolutely rad as fuck. The level of international support for Sam Kerr for calling a cop a white bastard, great stuff, absolutely. Alright, so what are we working with today? Dark Horse is an unexpected winner. Is this going to be an unexpected winner of a wine? For context, most of the wine I drink on this stream, for anyone who's new, is bad. But let's see if this one fixes that. For us, winning means bringing you exceptionally crafted and well-balanced wine that over-delivers on your expectations. Oh boy, you're setting me up for not liking you. We do this by working side by side with 400 of California's finest grape growers to earn the first pick of their harvest, and we taste their wines over 100 times before you pour your first glass. The result? A rich Chardonnay with notes of apple and ripe stone fruit layered with toasted oak. Let's see if sommelier John picks up on any of those notes. It's unlikely, but we'll see. Smells like wine. It smells nice. It smells like nice wine, and I do have to say, credit to them already. Maybe this will be a rare John drinks a nice wine on stream event. Because I can actually, it does smell a bit like apple, and isn't that exciting? That's odd. That is, that's an odd taste. It doesn't taste of anything when you take your first sip, which is odd. But then it has a kind of nice aftertaste. Yeah, I don't know if it's bad. It doesn't seem to taste of anything. That's strange. We're going in for another sip. We're doing extended sommelier because most of the time I take a sip and I'm like, that's better than expected. And I'm lying and it's terrible. This is just weird. This doesn't taste of anything. Not worth the £9 I paid for it. The inflation on booze is out of this world. £9. This was on deal as well. I don't think it's bad. It just doesn't taste of anything. It's strange. I've never. I will say to its credit, I've never tasted a wine that tastes like it. I've not got COVID. No, I just ate my dinner, and my dinner tasted nice. My taste faculties are all there. This is just not tasting of things. Is this a wine of the revolution? No, but I did have a wine on stream a while back that was given to me as a birthday present, I think, and it marketed itself something like wine of the revolution, or like that. Except for some reason it did this with prisoners like who were shipped to Australia in the 19th century, and they were like, this is the proof that it's revolutionary, we support the prisoners. And you're like, there are so many ways in which this is inappropriate. And it was bad wine as well. Like having sex in a boat fucking close to water. I mean, I didn't check the percentage. Fucking hell. Sorry, this is 14.5%. We're gonna get messy. So it's not close to water. It's fucking... My appreciation of it has increased. 19 prisoners. Yeah, I didn't like that. That wine was shit, and I thought that it was a weird and inappropriate kind of company. As an American, your prices are still better than ours. Really? I remember when I lived. Maybe it's changed so much, but when I studied for a year in South Carolina, you get like a handle of vodka, which already, when I when I heard of such a thing as a handle of vodka, it was like that scene in Lord of the Rings when the hobbits go to Bree and discover that it comes in pints. I was like, it comes in handles. I know it was like $11 for like $11 to $14 for like a handle of the worst vodka you've ever had in your life, but still, better than anything here. I studied is a strong word. I fannied about in South Carolina for a year. One of the easiest years of my life, where I did fuck all, somehow still, did very, the American, the at least the University of South Carolina's education system was bizarre to me. It felt like being in school again. But fannied about and had a great time, and got handles of vodka. I was like, purely, I genuinely was like Pippin in that instant. Like, it comes in pints. I'm getting one. Yeah, the taste of this wine, less than ideal. The 14.5%, it's not. That's not bad. So we'll cut it some slack and see if it warms up on me. Generally, they tend to warm up on me as the more the glasses go down. But we'll see. My old boss got me a bottle of Children of the Revolution for Christmas. Oh, the recuperation. Yeah. Talking about recuperation, that's a joke that I could have used in the video, isn't it? Yeah, so I guess the chicken run video. So the last video that came out, I think God, I'm so annoyed I didn't use a recuperation joke. I'm so annoyed about that now. We could talk about London's museums in a minute. I will be going on a podcast with, I believe, the one and only Phineas, who is in chat, on Wednesday, to talk about Chicken Run more. But we'll talk about the video. I guess the first thing to say is that it is done so much worse than I thought it would do. I was like hoping that this would be like a winner. I wasn't expecting it to do as well as the original, but as like the first one. But it's like my worst performing video in a long time, unfortunately. Hopefully, maybe it'll pick up in a bit, but we'll see. Probably a reflection of the fact that not many people actually sought out to watch the second Chicken Run, and it was on because it was on Netflix and nobody really cared. You've been missing my streams? Nothing much happens. It's the same thing every time. We're just here to have fun. But yeah, as a video, I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. And functionally, my going into this, watching the second Chicken Run, Shan times. I've not heard someone say the word Shan in so long. My God. I'm assuming you're from Edinburgh. Shan times. Oh man, that's fun. Yeah, so my feeling on the movie, a real cluck up. Fucking hell, Jesus. I actually like the movie more now than I did before I did the video. Like when I first watched the movie, I was like, it's fine. I didn't think it was terrible. Didn't think it was great. Didn't think there was a huge amount that I could write about. But squeezing the sort of communist juice, communist blood from that stone, Shan means kind of like, unfair or kind of cruel or unfortunate. In school people would say it a lot. Oh, that's Shan. Don't be Shan. Don't be Shan to that. To like, if folk were making fun of someone, don't be Shan. I also forgot to. I can't believe I forgot to do this. I forgot to interview the chickens again, and I should have done that. Yeah, close to Edinburgh. Me too. I'm originally from a town called Gorebridge, which since the railway came in is becoming gentrified, which is strange. What was I saying? Yeah, so like originally I was like, I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was just kind of middling movie with some alright jokes. That didn't have all that much of the same themes beyond, the pushing of global chicken revolution. That was obvious from the start. But actually, like looking into it, and particularly deciding to look at it from a 60s kind of dystopian lens, I had a lot of fun. Like looking into the relationship between dystopia and the sort of fears of commodification, and I actually prefer the movie now after having watched it and been like, that's fun. From Yorkshire, the phrase hasn't made it down that far. I mean, it doesn't even go as far as Glasgow, Shan. It's a purely like East Coast thing. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, watching the movie back after, like, because I had to look for clips and stuff after doing a bit of research and stuff, I was like, oh, that's very fun. And there's things I didn't notice, like someone pointed out that there's a scene in Logan's Run about like older people. I think I might be wrong. Like older people are sort of taken away and murdered as they sort of become less useful, and they rise on an escalator and disappear behind a curtain, which is very similar to the Chicken Run thing and like builds on the dystopia stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's really good. That's some fun, good shit for like. They were clearly going for a clearly going for a kind of dystopia thing, and I think that's fun. The still thing about the recasting of Ginger is one of the weird. Yeah, that whole thing. There must be more to that story. Behind the scenes, like people falling out and fighting with each other. And because that whole thing was bizarre. Like saying that she sounded too old, and then casting someone who's like the same age as her to play Ginger. It was just really strange. It was like everyone was saying, like at first everyone was like, oh, it's ageist because and like the way they were describing it made it sound very ageist, like, oh, she sounds too old for the role, and she didn't. But then casting someone who's the same age as her is just like very bizarre. Obviously, getting rid of fucking the original Rocky, Mel Gibson, obvious decision. Nobody would give a shit about that. He's a shithead. But recasting Ginger was just very odd. I didn't like. There must be something going on behind the scenes. Some producers and actors and directors falling out or something, because it's very weird. I don't know what was going on there. One thing I'll say, which I didn't mention in the video, is, and maybe it's fine, but Rocky had no sort of function in that movie really. Which is fine. He's not that interesting a character, but it's just funny how he had basically held no function in the movie, except to be a bit goofy from time to time. He isn't really involved in the chicken's main sort of break-in, which is Rocky's a shithead, and I'm glad to see him slapped more and more, even if it's no longer Mel Gibson. Ginger isn't exactly a hatchling. I don't see why her age would be a problem. Yeah, the whole thing was very strange, and it like the original actress did a voice test and sounded exactly the same. So that excuse just is strange. And again, casting someone who's basically the same age as her. It's just the whole thing was odd. It was odd. I just think Rocky is the weakest character in both films. I think Rocky's function Rocky has a very clear and specific function, both in terms of the actual film and in making it communist in the original. And he's a fun kind of cocky asshole who does interesting things and forwards the plot, in fun ways. But the second film, he just doesn't do anything, and it's kind of useless and just kind of there. It's like, he's just there. But I did sort of throw in some things that are some like hints of things that I'm going to be talking about in future videos, which is I am going to do a video on family abolition, a bigger video that's not just chicken one, and I'm planning on doing one on technology as well, and the relationship between technology and capital. And the little comment about that in the video is obviously like a little thing for the future. And but not the next video is going to be about ecocide, I think. I think that's something that can be useful to talk about after talking about something completely useless and fun. We can do something serious next time and not feel bad about it. And also because my supervisor's been suggested a couple times doing a video on ecocide, because it's his area. So I'll be doing that next. We'll start working on that soon enough, but not this week because I'm busy this week. Especially in the sequel, it would have been expected for Ginger to be older. Yeah, and they're chickens. Even if she's a few years older, chickens live to like 12 years as the old. I think the oldest chicken we had chickens growing up, and the oldest chicken that we had was like 15. So like a few, it's not strange if Ginger's a bit older. It's a strange story. Parents are too busy working to be a trad family anyway. Well, we can get into that. We'll get into that sort of stuff in the family abolition video. I think the contradictory relationship between the family and economic pressures and social reproduction, both forcing nuclear families together and tearing them apart at the same time. Interesting stuff. All right, I'm a bit tired of this track. Let's get a more chill track on, and then we'll get back to it. Am I still silent, or are things coming through? I like that a lot. I'm pleased with how that one turned out. That's some fucking 2014 Daft Punk shit. And it's fun. Yeah, so we've talked about the Chicken Run video. Any other questions about the last video or upcoming videos? Or anything else? Anything else that's on anyone's mind, itching about anyone's mind? Normally what we end up doing. So do I just not completely? Yeah, it's all just generally improvised. No, it is all improvised. It's just that's why a lot of it sounds very similar. That's why there's not much variation a lot of the time. Just fanning about, seeing what comes out, which is just fun. If I had more time, and I did this a little bit last year, I would take stuff that I come up and like fanny about with, and like actually I have Ableton and actually record proper stuff. But at this point, I don't have the time. Weirdly, I'm so busy. I shouldn't be as busy as I am. For someone who is technically unemployed, I have just so much stuff to do, and it's really annoying. None of the all of the rubbishness of being unemployed, not having much, not being able to go out, not having much money, but none of the benefits of not being busy. Like this week what have I done this week? I started a book proposal, which was more work than I thought it was going to be. Book proposals, by the way, fucking hell, it's like 6 pages, detailed chapter breakdowns. You've got to, and because it's a book proposal for my PhD, I've got to describe the ways in which it's different from my PhD. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I thought this was going to be easy. Like all the detailed chapter breakdowns. I've got to provide summaries for books that would be relevant in relation to the one I'm writing. I've got to you've got to do one 250 word summary, then another 500 word summary, then a detailed chapter breakdown of every chapter that you're going to have, and they've got to be different than the chapters that were just in the PhD, because you don't have a methodology or a lit review chapter, so you've got to think of different things. Then you've got to demonstrate how these things are going to be different to the stuff you've produced in your PhD, which is I was told this was going to be easy, but it's a hassle. And I've got another thing I was doing was applying for a fellowship, an associate fellowship position at my university, which is a unpaid role, but would give me an affiliation with the university to improve job applications. Who knew making a book would require so much writing? The thing is, it's a book of the PhD, so I assumed it wouldn't be that much writing, because I've already written a lot. The writing's there. There's a fucking it's there already. But they're like, nah, we want you to do more writing. The proposal goes through 2 rounds of peer review. Fucking so much work. What else was I doing this week? All the other things I've got as one of my sort of bits and pieces jobs that I've got going on is external marketing, which is included engaging with digital learning environments. You can tell I've been doing job applications. I've been engaging in digital learning environments and managing virtual learning in collaboration with senior colleagues to encourage the critical understanding of human rights and of genocide, because I'm marking on the genocide course. Of course I am. All that shit. What else have I done this week? Yeah, and just a bunch of job applications, which are exhausting. Yeah, it's been a tiring week. Hence the wine, always good. Oh, thank you, Rosie. I'm glad that you think my content's beautiful. I generally think it's a fucking mess, but I'm glad that you enjoy it. Yeah, pictures are strange. Oh yeah, I had journal work to do. Man, I have a paper that's been sitting in peer review for a while. That's been through the peer reviews, because you can, when you submit a paper to an academic journal, you gotta remember passwords and shit, and you get onto this fucking portal, and you can track the progress of where your submission is. And it sits in Associate Editor Center for a while, and then it sits in reviews for a while. But the annoying, and that's, people take time to review, that's fine. The annoying thing is that it's been sitting for about 2 weeks on awaiting a decision, which means that the reviews are in, and I know this because I do associate editing for a journal. The associate editor has just not gotten round to clicking whether or not it gets passed, what revisions are getting passed on, which is fun. Well, thank you, Phineas. So many people get into my stuff via Chicken Run. It's the great onboarding, Chicken Run. Have I ever interacted with Platypus Affiliated Society? No, I've never. Is this a society for people who enjoy platypuses? Because I like platypuses. I saw a video of a baby platypus the other day getting chin scratches, and that was pretty good. But aside from that, no, I've never heard of that. The Shrek one was fun. That was a fun one to put together. You know what? I've had a few people comment on there's a comment that you get on media analysis videos where people are like, "You're clearly taking this too seriously. You're taking this all too seriously. It's just a movie about chickens, or it's just a movie about Shrek. It's got no queer undertones. It's got no communist content." And I'm just like, look, guys, I'm dressed as a chicken. I don't know how serious you think I am. I'm dressed as a chicken. I'm having fun with it. Just why don't you just try to have fun with it as well? This is the fun. Like I was saying earlier, like doing the media analysis of making this sequel, Communist, made me enjoy the movie more. And that's the point. That's the fun of media analysis, is that you get to unlock different readings that make you have more fun. You're like, oh, this is very, very serious. Like, man, shut the fuck up. Ah, yeah, Sinan, how's it going? SK the Crusader, follow on YouTube and Twitch. We'll be doing our, I think next week we'll be doing our fortnightly, our 2 weekly D&D streams. I think we'll be doing it on YouTube next week, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But the last D&D session we did was we ended up assassinating not Keir Starmer, not the leader of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, but an in-universe public official who went by the title of Keir Starmer, and we ended up assassinating him, who runs a whole city. Went bizarrely well, and I think that Sinan is going to punish us for how well it went next week, and so that's going to be exciting. And you should subscribe to Sinan on Twitch and YouTube to get updates of when we're doing our D&D, if you want to see us do some D&D. I think the creators of Chicken Run would be obsessed, personally. I think people should send them the videos. Find their, does Sam Fell, Chicken Run director, have Twitter? If not, then we'll find his email address. Thoughts on prefigurative politics? I don't think you can entirely prefigure as a revolutionary state, a revolutionary world. Prefigurative politics in certain ways makes sense. In a lot of ways, I think that organising your unions and your social movements democratically and trying to live by the standards and politics of the world you're trying to create is never a bad thing. But I would never want to assume that we could view and understand the types of politics that we would then be creating in a post-revolutionary world. So, positive thoughts on prefigurative politics, but I don't think it's a fix-all or necessarily a hint of what a post-revolutionary society would even look like. That's my off-the-dome thoughts. The Keir Starmer's spelt differently than Keir Starmer as well. So there is no connection between the figurative, the fictional social role of Keir Starmer within the D&D universe and Keir Starmer in the real world. Have I seen Dune 2? Not yet. Me, my flatmate and my partner are going to see it on Saturday in an IMAX, which is going to be exciting. I'm quite looking forward to it. I think it's going to be, I'm excited to see Dune Part 2. I've been scrolling through any Dune post, just like immediately scroll past it, because people have. I get that it's a book published like 60 years ago. I haven't read the book, so I don't know what happens. So I don't want to, go in there and be spoiled. Like, I know broadly the contours of the story, but still, I've been trying to avoid all talk of Dune because I've not seen it yet. But I'm looking forward to seeing it, and especially seeing it in IMAX. I've never been to an IMAX before, so I'm quite looking forward to that. And it feels like the sort of thing that IMAX is made for. Like, that feels like a good first experience in IMAX. I think it's going to be a lot, but it'll be fun. And the main contour of the story is warm. I have to say, this wine is not growing on me in the way that wines should. Maybe because it's getting slightly warm. But we will power through. Let's track down the creators of Chicken Run and sit them down and make them understand the radical content of the things that they produce. If you can't get your prefigurative politics working in a small, like-minded organisation, how can you expect society to adopt it? To me, prefiguration is a necessary rough draft of the future world. I think there's an extent to which that's true, but even small, like-minded organisations that exist today are subject to the overarching world, the overarching logic of capital and the social forces that exist today. So even in small, like-minded organisations, there are pressures which wouldn't exist in a post-revolutionary society, and these are things that you have to consider. Like, I'm not saying that it would be good to run your small like-minded organization in a way that is undemocratic and isn't living up to the goals of your whatever revolutionary goals you have. But there's still things at play there that make it more complicated than just saying, oh, this organization is run like things like the post-revolutionary societies and things would work then. It's like, that's firstly probably untrue, and secondly, there are pressures now which we are hoping to abolish in the future. So I think there's more dynamics at play than necessarily just that. I'm. There's that famous Marx phrase about not writing a cookbook for the future, and I think that is very prescient as well. You get those, I'm sympathetic to a lot of it. A lot of prefigurative politics. Obviously, abolition politics has a lot of prefigurative politics built into it. But I don't think it's a sort of catch-all concept that can necessarily like explain how we're going to work in the future. And I think that even assuming or arguing that it would is falling into a trap which is potentially dangerous for a left-wing movement. You can make an argument about like this is how things should work in the future, but it's, it maybe won't. And you can organize work your organizations in the ways that you think are most effective and most I lost track of what I was saying there because I read a comment, but it was probably very eloquent even halfway through a sentence. Yes, and depends when. But shoot me a message on Discord or something. Or you have my number, don't you? Text me and tell me when you're about, and I'll see if I'm around. I should be around. If it's this weekend, it might be a challenge. But next weekend I'm around. So give me a shout. Does it seem to make sense that the result of the work with an enclave could be presumed relevant at scale? Yeah, I think there are several institutional critiques you could make, because something works in a small like-minded organisation, it doesn't mean that it would work at scale, because just because something works at scale doesn't mean that it's good. There's a whole bunch of shit that's difficult to. I don't think of prefigurative politics as anything other than how do we run an organisation that most effectively meets in the crossroads between just and effective. And at that point, you're not talking about prefigurative politics. You're talking about making politics that you think is best now. I don't necessarily see it as a project which would always transfer into a future, a post-revolutionary future. But these things, it's not like this is prefigurative and this is not. There's a scale of what things might carry on and what thing living by, standards that you wish the future was lived on. So I wouldn't discount it, but it's not something that I push hard as a form of praxis necessarily, or analysis. Not this weekend. Just shoot me a text. Thanks for popping by, Michelle H. I will finish this drink, and then we'll make a new track, and then we'll talk about something. I started watching Shogun. That's fun. Have I seen anything terrible recently that I can complain about? Oh, I finished the Avatar show. Yeah, I'd only watched the first episode of that in the last stream. We can talk about how bad the Avatar show is after the next track is done, is made, because that was a bad show. That was a bad show. I'm not going to do a video on it because there's nothing relevant to say. It's just bad. It wasn't like the Addams Family show where I got a chance to talk about femme fatales and gothic, the role of the gothic in critiquing it's similar to a lot of stuff that was made in the Chicken Run video. And I like the Addams Family so much. When you say red platypus, did I misread that as platypus? Were you the person who was talking about, or did I read that correctly as platypus, and now I'm reading platyus, and these are different things? I suspect that I might be slightly dyslexic, so if I read platypus first time and you were talking about something completely different, I'm sorry. But I do like platypuses, and now I'm distracted by thinking about platypuses again. Alright, new tune. Let's see what kind of new tune we'll make. That's a bit Arcade Fire, isn't it? Sounds like a B-side to one of Arcade Fire's later songs. Alright, let's see. What are folks saying? Okay, so I did read it right. It was Platypus. Okay, cool. I thought I might have just made a mistake and misread things. This sounds like people are having discussions that I am unable to contribute to in chat. So I will move forward with something I can do, which is complain about Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix. So yes, I am one of the people who watched Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix. Oh, it is Platypus. Did I misread it again? I'm one of the fools that watched the full series of Avatar. Not because I was hate watching. I actually did want to see whether they did something interesting with it, which, you know, makes me a fool, because nothing about that show was interesting or good. And I think the best example of that is, anyone in the chat big fan of the animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender? Now, I assume because you're watching a stream from a left-wing YouTuber that you are fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because, you know, let's all face it, we're all pretty well clockable. We know who we are. You know, if you're here, you've probably watched that show. So then that makes sense. So, in the, I think that the best example of why the show is bad. So there's a whole bunch of issues, things like production issues of like a lot of the sets are clearly CGI, and it kind of looks weird. And like there's two good examples of what went wrong with the show in terms of the writing, though. The first is known to get, yeah, I'm sure David would. The first is the way that they treated the character of Bumi, the king. So for anyone who's not seen it, in the animated series, Aang, the main character, the last airbender, the titular last airbender, frozen in ice for 100 years after running away from his responsibilities, and then he awakens to find that one nation, the Fire Nation, has done imperialism all over the globe. In the Netflix show, he wasn't running away from his responsibilities, he was just clearing his head, which is silly. That's a very silly thing to change. And it sort of goes this like the way that they kind of sand away anything challenging about the characters. And in the sort of show, you sort of flash back to a character when he was young, 100 years ago, and he hung about with his friend who was still having fun. And then later on, he ends up going to this city, and there's a king of the city who seems very hostile. And what does an airbender even mean? Is that whole thing? An airbender in the show, people who like control elements like fire, air, earth, and water, so they can make wind, like we all can. So in the animated show, the purpose of this whole thing is that this character reminds Aang to look at problems in different ways and to still have fun, and not to get too bogged down in everything while he's accepting his responsibility. In the Netflix show, the whole thing is very weird, where this like old king, they've sort of like understood that the old king is like likes to make jokes, but they've made him a kind of fascist dictator that everyone around him is terrified, and he tries to teach Aang in a lesson that's like he ran away from his responsibilities, which is not something that happened. He didn't run away from his responsibilities, which is a crucial part. But so there's nothing he's really teaching him, and the whole thing is just like completely bizarre. They've got this whole like setup of this character's being admonished constantly for running away from his responsibilities. Sorry, I just realised that the wine was coming up was around the on the screen there. Running away from his responsibilities, but he never is running away from his responsibilities, and it's just this really strange like so much of the show is that people being like, Aang, you're running away from your responsibilities, and then you're like, but he's not, and it's just confusing. It's odd that fire is an element. No, elements in the sort of, not in the periodic table, but elements as a like feature of the world. That was a previous understanding of what elements were, was fire and water and air and earth. These were considered elements before like periodic table chemical element stuff. Like they were building blocks of life before we had a sort of understanding. So yeah. And yeah, so that was really strange. That was a really strange thing they did with the show. And the whole way through, it led to completely completely unfulfilled character developments or character arcs where everything is just kind of a bit odd. Oops, my headphone fell out. And like the second major problem, and if I think about this for longer, I will think of lots of other problems. But the second thing that springs to mind immediately is that one of the other major characters is a character called Prince Zuko, who is the son of the Imperial Lord who's been exiled to find the Avatar. And in that first series, it's revealed that he disrupted a military meeting and insulted a general, and in the course of this meeting he thought like they were going to do some sort of honor-based combat system to make up for a lapse in honor. And in the sort of animated series, Zuko goes into that thinking that he's going to be dueling this commander that he insulted, and he goes into it and then realizes that it's his dad who's going to fight him, and instead of fighting his dad, he refuses to fight his dad, and his dad burns his face off. And it's like, it's a whole lot of world building and character sort of background for this character, someone who would refuse to do harm to someone he thought he cared about. And then the big bad guy of the show is extremely heartless and would just burn his face off, and that's his lack of honor. And in the show they make him sort of always be fighting the dad, and he doesn't just he sort of fights him but doesn't land the killing blow on him. And then the dad's like, okay, now I've got to burn your face off. And it's like, it's one of those sort of things that is like, you haven't understood why the character took those, like, you haven't understood the children's show, that this character will refuse, like the fact that he refuses to fight his dad is an important part of the culture. Not that he refuses to kill his dad, but like fight him. And it's an important part of his character development. And it's just like, how have you managed, writers of Netflix's Avatar, to not understand a children's show? Because this character is like an antagonist who gets redeemed, and a lot of this stuff is like, it's setting up his particular understanding of the world and what is just and unjust in that world that carries on through, and relates him to the central protagonist who doesn't kill and often doesn't want to fight, and all that's and it's just like, what you've done here is bad and wrong and confusing. Oh, the final issue with the show is like, while it wants to be a sort of grown-up version of the Avatar story, which is silly, it still explains every character directly to you, in a way that contradicts their actions, but like, you know, it explains the character directly to you on screen, as if you are a 5-year-old child. Which would be fine if it was a show aimed at 5-year-old children, but it's like this weird middle ground where it wants to like show, oh, it's so gritty, and when a firebender burns someone alive, but also here's a child explaining directly to you what his character is. Like, you're first introduced to Aang, and he basically turns to camera and goes, "Hello, I'm Aang. I like having fun with my friends. I don't want to have responsibility. And I'm sad about being the Avatar. That's who I am as a character." And you're like, okay, sure. And then just every bit of character, like, action that he takes just doesn't match up with that. He's always taking responsibility and he's always doing things. And you're like, okay, nothing about this makes sense. None of this makes any sense. Anyway, bad show. Don't watch. I won't be watching the next series of it because it's bad. I kind of think it's one of those things that's like, it wasn't adapted by AI, was it? No. Oh, that Glasgow Willy Wonka experience fed my soul. I loved the Glasgow Willy Wonka experience. The AI created, everything about that. Every new development in that story was just like a morsel. It was delicious. There's a terrible, like, one of my favorite things is seeing terrible Santa's grottos. Every Christmas there's a new Santa's grotto. there's like a miserable elf like in a parking lot, and like in a muddy fucking car park in Lincolnshire or something, and then like some like skinny Santa Claus that like all these children cry upon seeing, and I love those things so much. They nourish me every Christmas. They make me feel so glad. And to get one in March or February, whenever it came out, oh god, that's beautiful. To see that poor woman who was the Oompa Loompa doing her utmost best to give the children sweets. Oh God, incredible stuff. And then like stuff coming out, like there's a video of people crossing the chocolate river, and this is the best part. This is my favourite bit. My favourite bit of the whole thing is the chocolate river. Not because it's so bad, because they've actually built a bridge that goes over a chocolate river. I mean, it is bad, but they could have made it much worse. It could have been like a bit of cardboard, something, or painted brown. But they've actually done something there. And the fact that they've done something and it's still terrible is just beautiful. It's just fucking beautiful to me. I love it so much. And the way you're hearing all these parents being like, oh look, here we go, over the chocolate river, whee! And the kids are just like, are we supposed to be enjoying this? Beautiful. An absolute golden thing to have happened. And then, the way this took a turn, in terms of the social media of it all, the way the unknown who lives in the wall. I love the unknown who lives in the wall. The fact that the unknown who lives in the wall was played by a 16-year-old girl. Yeah, that's weird. That's very strange. That's suspicious. And that is extra suspicious and not great, given that the guy who got most famous, the guy who was playing Willy Wonka, seemed very affable, seemed very nice, was almost immediately milkshake ducked with having dated for 5 years a 16-year-old student of his from drama school. And you're just like, you're like, oh my, how has this happened? How has this story become the sort of incredible culmination of every single internet fucking feature, terrible thing that happens? It goes viral, tracking down the people that do it, those people seeming affable and then turning out to be like fucking terrible, just amazing. Like, and then he disappeared, obviously. This comedian, the layers of it. This is my personal June 2, was watching the Willy Wonka Charlie and the Chocolate Factory experience through social media. And conspiracy of the equals, it was not. No, it's the 5 years started at 16, yeah, which is not good. Yeah, no, not Gene Wilder. It was some fucking English guy. Fucking English. Coming here and stealing our Willy Wonka positions. No, Dead Philosopher, he dated a 16-year-old from when she was 16. While she was a student of his. It's something. It is a whole thing. I've not seen the Timothy Chalamet Willy Wonka movie because I don't want to. It seems really boring, and I don't want to see it. The experience of watching this unfold over several days must be just so much more satisfying than a prequel story to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And incredible stuff. And then we get the Cerveza Crystal right afterwards. Amazing. Yeah, still gross. For people who don't know, Americans, the age of consent in the UK is 16. So, what this person did was waited until she was technically legally the age of consent, and then started a relationship. Yeah, it was all bad. Yeah. What a story. What a story. That's the sort of thing that social media is for. This is the sort of story that you're like, I'm glad social media exists. So I could see the AI generated Willy Wonka disaster, see parents threaten bouncers to batter them if they don't get their 40 quid back, and then see a affable Willy Wonka character get milkshake ducked within hours of posting his affable. I just really wanted to put on a good show for the children. Did you, hi? Is that what you wanted to do? Great stuff. Great stuff. Windor Chad is saying, I hated that they changed the Kyoshi warrior story by removing the part where Sokka was required to wear the dress to train with the warriors, and he did it unashamedly. They totally cut that part. Yeah. So there's back to Avatar. They were trying. They didn't make this character sexist, so he had a character arc that was, hey, don't be sexist. They cut out the bit where he where he dressed, where he swallowed his pride, learned to basically accept that women were his equals and wore their dress, and they were like, no, that's actually not something that we're gonna do. Yeah, that sucked a lot as well. Something good that I watched though. Has anyone watched Shogun? Which is a new series concerning about 1600s Japan, which I've watched the first 2 episodes of, and is fucking brilliant. It's really good. Great stuff there. No milkshake ducking going on there. No AI generated Charlie and the Chocolate Factory adverts, and no terrible writing. There is a guy called Cosmo Jones in it though, an actor. So I was watching the show Shogun, which is very good, but we're going to talk about Cosmo Jones now. A guy who an actor who plays like the main white lead in the show. And he's, first of all, he's quite hot, so there's that. But his voice in it sounds like, it sounds like someone doing an English accent. Like, not in the way that it's bad, but in the way that, like, it sounds very theatrical. So I was like, is that guy English? Not sure. Looked him up, and his name was Cosmo Jones, and I was like, that is unacceptable. That is an unacceptable name for a human who's alive in this year, who's in his 30s, to be called Cosmo Jones. Like, he sounds like the dog of a cartoon future family from a 1960s, like, Meet the Jetsons style cartoon. Like, come on, Cosmo, meet our dog, Cosmo Jones. Say hello, Cosmo. Woof. Yeah, that, like, unacceptable. That someone could be named that. Anyway, that's a diversion. One day, I'm gonna end up, like, for some reason, being in a party with Cosmo Jones, and I'm gonna find out that Cosmo Jones was actually a religious subscriber to this channel until he heard about my tirade against his name. Anyway, if you've got a child, don't name them Cosmo Jones. It sounds like fucking ridiculous name. Alright. What else is going on? We can change up. Shall we change up the music? And I'll have a think about things to talk about. I could. The annoying thing is, I could talk about the Labour Party. I don't want to talk about the Labour Party. I could talk about how they're fucking being neoliberal, but we know that they're going to be neoliberal. You're going to have 50 kids and name them all Cosmo Jones. Make them sound like... Yeah, have a child and make them sound like they're an animated... an animated bacteria in a school like a school age biology video. I might name my next D&D character Cosmo Jones. I always try to think of like fun names for my D&D characters. Joe Bogan, Art Junk, Bean. Maybe, but none of them have been as good as Cosmo Jones. Ravel music. Let's see. Let's see what music I can come up with. Your cat's called Cosmo. That's because Cosmo is not the name for a human. It's the name of a cat. A cat or a dog being called Cosmo makes sense. If someone was like, "This is my cat, Cosmo," I'd be like, "Yeah, that makes sense. How are you, Mr. Cosmo? I hope you're well. Please let me rub your face." If a human was called Cosmo, I'd be like, "What? Can I still rub your face?" Yeah, it's not a person's name. And I hate to just come for someone like that. I'm sure he's a perfectly lovely person, but come on. And I know I come from the place of having the world's most boring name. But still. No, I was actually called, my parents actually called me John because they were like, when I was born, they were like, lots of people are coming with these very hip new names. We need the most boring name possible. Just to go against the trend of all these people. So let's name this child John, the most boring name possible. Yeah, this is my human. You wouldn't call your cat John, would you? This is my cat John. I do love when dogs and cats have human names, but still, John seems it doesn't seem like a right name for a pet. Cosmo, 100%. That is a pet's name. 100% a pet's name. Yeah, like Cosmo. And things like, Leaf and Cloud and stuff like that. Only Dachshunds should have people names? No, I disagree. We had a Labrador, a black Labrador growing up called Toby. Perfect name for him. He was a Toby. He was named after a German guy who stayed with us for a while, who didn't speak any English except swear words that he would exclaim every day as he fell down the stairs every morning. We'd hear that he was a big German guy with big feet, and he would fall down the stairs every morning. You'd just hear this fuck, shit, fuck, and then he would speak no more English. And we named our dog after him, and Toby was great. And we also we got a rescue dog called Tasha, and Tasha was perfect. That was a perfect name for that dog, Tasha. You couldn't name her anything else. She was already called Tasha, but she was a Tasha. My parents' current dog, Lucy. Another good name for a dog. Gotta call your dog something like Ian or Steve. Yeah, Ian, Steve, John, Keith. This is my dog, Keith. This is my... as a tribute to the prodigy, this is my poodle, Keith Flint. Oh, my voice is clipping? Oh. Sorry, I've turned my microphone down. Yeah, that's my dog Keith Flint. We used to have a bow tie for my parents used to have a bow tie for the cat, but he got rid of that because it stopped him from killing birds effectively. Someone asked a serious question between this. We can still talk about dog and cat names. Someone's asked, now that my PhD is done, what's next? Academia, more of your fabulous YouTube lectures, or both, or something else. I mean, I was hoping. Here's the thing. I want to keep doing YouTube videos as long as possible. I like doing it. I was hoping that this chicken run video would give me some push in subscriber count and in view count to make it more feasible to pursue this as a more stable career path. But that is looking increasingly unlikely, just due to the pressures of YouTube and the fact that I can't pump out content to make up, to gather subscriber counts, or I don't want to do that. So I want to keep doing the channel, but I can't. I don't think I can view it as a means of life. I don't think it's possible. So I am looking for academic jobs. I'm applying for one right now that I really hope I at least get an interview for, because it's like it was made specifically for me. And I'm getting a lot of advice on how to on the application process and everything. But the likelihood is, should I get that job, it'd be a full-time job. Would be to cut down on what I can make and like change Patreon to only ever charge for things that like videos that are made and stuff, so to cut that way down. But I would still want to make video content even with a job. I'd still want to produce like stuff that isn't confined behind the walls of the fucking academy. But it's not a possible way to live at this point, unfortunately. So I'm looking for academic jobs as well. That's the unfortunate reality of trying to make, try to figure out what's a more unstable career path: academic jobs or making YouTube videos. I'm glad you're liking the music. This wine still tastes like nothing. I'm calling out Dark Horse, California. Your wine, it tastes like nothing. Oh, I remember you. Yeah, I remember bumping into you in the chicken shop. Nice to see you, and cheers for the super chat. I was very drunk that night, but I do remember chatting with you. That was when I was in Liverpool for World Transformed, a left-wing festival. Which was fun. Oh, that was another thing I did this week, was applied for a conference in Manchester. Am I gonna slag off Manchester? Yeah, fuck it. Been to Manchester one time, did not like it. I liked Liverpool. I like Liverpool a lot. Liverpool reminds me of Glasgow. Manchester, just didn't like it. Didn't like the whole vibe of the place. I was like, this just feels not great. It didn't grab me. Maybe because I was there for work, but yeah. In the case of which is better, Liverpool or Manchester, Liverpool, in my mind, has that fucking on lock. You walk out of Liverpool's like main train station, and there's like Irish bars all around you, and like music pumping out, and you're like, this is fucking brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. You had a good time at Manchester's one metal venue 10 years ago. Yeah, I feel like once you're measuring your good times in Manchester by decades, it's probably not a good sign. Correct answer. Like, I'm very in the Scotland sort of like equivalent of this. I'm very much in the case of like, I like both Edinburgh and Glasgow, and Edinburgh gets a shit rep for folk in Glasgow are like, oh, you can't have a good night out in Edinburgh. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? First of all, the pubs are open later. Oh, we can getting into pub, 24 hour city sort of shit. But Edinburgh pubs open to like 1 normally. That's brilliant. It means you don't have to go to a club until 1. And there's a bunch of good clubs in Edinburgh. Glasgow's great fun too. I had the best Chinese I've ever had in Liverpool. Which, fun fact, Liverpool, second biggest Chinatown in the UK. First biggest being London, second biggest being Liverpool. But I had an incredible Cantonese food when I was in Liverpool. It was like, it was in the place, I think it's called the Big Bowl. I think that's literally what it's called, the Big Bowl. And it's one of the best I've ever had in my life. And it was a big bowl they brought you. It's fucking brilliant. If you're ever in Liverpool, go down near the big cathedral. There's the Big Bowl Cantonese. It's fucking brilliant. It's cheap. It's big. It's fucking brilliant. For anyone outside of the UK, this is entirely irrelevant unless you find yourself in Liverpool. How big? It was like that big. Like it was a big bowl. It was a big bowl of noodles and fucking vegetables and tofu. Amazing tofu. For so long I've been trying to make tofu myself that has that nice crispy outside and the flavour is so good and it's still soft on the inside. I can never manage it. I've tried, the closest I've come is frying it and corn flour and then baking it slightly and frying it again. It's never got there. It's one day I'm gonna make one good tofu. Yeah, everyone come to Liverpool. Everyone around the world come to Liverpool to go to Big Bowl, and specifically. I don't freeze my tofu before I cook with it. No. Yeah. Baked it earlier, and then fried it in the baked it in the corn flour, then fried it, and it was fine. It was nice. Like I made a nice meal, but it was just not quite right, unfortunately. I've freezing it out. So that might be an idea. I need to go by there's a Chinese supermarket just around the corner from me that I should try as well. Get some good tofu from there. I did make a really good vegan fish and chips with tofu a while back. Big slices of tofu. It was already pressed. It wasn't needing of press. It was already firm tofu. But we got this brick of tofu. There's a Hare Krishnas that give away free food outside my previous university. And they used to give away free food, and they gave away this little brick of tofu, and we cut it into big slices, marinated it, fried it in flour and a beer batter, and put nori strips over it, and made a tartar sauce and made vegan fish and chips. And that was fucking brilliant. That's one of the best tofu things I've ever made in my life. It didn't taste like obviously didn't taste super like fish, but it was really nice regardless. I'd recommend doing that. Hello, only Yuke. They charged $5. Man, even in America, the Hare Krishnas are capitalist. Even in America, they haven't reached that here. Used to get great food from the Hare Krishnas in outside my university. You could get like a nice big curry for free. There was always a massive queue around the corner at lunchtime for them. you know what I realised when I was going to find my wine today. I was at Lidl last week and I should have picked up one of their cheaper wines. Instead I got this disappointing California wine, which I could feel hitting me. It's not good. I generally buy pre-pressed tofu, which might be like my laziness just getting in the way of being able to actually cook. Make good stuff with it. But I'm also, I don't know if actually, fucking thinking about it, with the amenities that are around where I live in a fucking... has anyone seen... I've not watched it. Has anyone seen Abby Thorne's new video on luxury flats and the kind of areas that they produce? I've been meaning to watch it because I feel like it's very relevant to stuff I'm going to make. I feel like I should, actually my work, and I feel like I should probably watch it. One of the features of I live in a place like this. A sort of development of flats that's not a real place. It's not like an organically developed place that has shops and things. It's like a suburb within a city. And one of the problems with living in a place like this is that the amenities are really poor. Everyone seems to order in food. Like the shop deliveries are around 6 o'clock. The place is buzzing with Deliveroo drivers. It's very strange. The one shop we have is a Sainsbury's local, which it's terrible. It often just doesn't have milk, doesn't have eggs, doesn't have just very basic. What was I gonna make? I was gonna make something a few weeks ago. I went to the gym and I came back. I was like, I'm gonna make that. That'd be really nice. And I went to the shop, and it was a vegetable that they just didn't have. Just I think it was like courgette or something. I had a courgette, and they had no courgettes, and it was essential for my fucking this meal that I wanted to make. I was like, how do you not have courgettes in a shop? It's not it's like you can grow them here. It's not like a global supply chain issue. Courgettes are easy to grow. My dad does it, and he's not the best gardener, but Sainsbury's can't. Vegan milk, they're very they have the vegan. I'm not vegan. I'm just vegetarian. They don't have. They often don't have vegan milk. Their vegan milk selection is either non-existent or prohibitively expensive. No courgette. But the shop is just terrible for just not having basic things, and it's really strange how they create these fucking fake places, shove a whole load of people there, like a suburb of a city, and just shove people there, but don't ensure that there's basic amenities of life in these areas. I feel like I should watch Abby's video, because I feel like it's something I can jump on and talk about, because it's also deeply related to a lot of the stuff I talk about in social reproduction theory and all that stuff. The fact that you don't have easily accessible foodstuffs is a massive issue in social reproduction in this city. Like the fact that you'd have to order it in or then order food via Deliveroo, supporting a whole economy of low-waged, insecure, often migrant workers who've recently gone on strike because of how bad they went on strike on Valentine's Day because of how bad conditions are. Just people just live off of it here. Yeah, there seems to be like an assumption that you either have to order in, order your weekly shops from Tesco, or Asda or whatever. I'm not sponsored by Tesco. Tesco, if you want to sponsor me, I'll take a lot of money. Yeah, there's an assumption that you would have to order in. Like the closest actual supermarkets, is either a 40-minute walk away, where you get a big Asda, or you got to get the train to another part of the city. And like, I think that this is the only city where I've lived in where something like that exists. Even in America, you could walk to a supermarket. But living in London, it's been harder than anywhere else to actually like live, to exist as a human being, to shop at a supermarket, to be able to get basic amenities of life. London has been worse than probably any other city I've lived in. Like my dad can take it. My dad doesn't. If my dad ever figures out how to use YouTube and comes across me slagging him off, then we'll deal with it then. But my 72-year-old dad, who barely knows how to work a smartphone, is not gonna look this up. Yeah, and in the States, it is harder to walk to like a grocery shop. And like, I lived in a college town, but at least when I lived in a college town, I could walk to a grocery shop. Like living in Glasgow, there was like, I was back in Glasgow. Okay. Is there anyone, for the folk who watched the Chicken Run video, you know the bit at the end where I give a shout out to my pal Menzies? That was the reason that happened, is because I was back in Glasgow for a separate friend of mine's 30th birthday, and Menzies was there, and he told me that he wanted a shout out in his video, so I had to give him a wee shout out, which is very, as another friend of mine pointed out, it does kind of look like I'm like he's gone missing and I'm telling him to come home. But anyway, I was back in Glasgow back in January, and just like, it's so much clearer how much easier it is to live in Glasgow than it is to live in somewhere like London. I walked out of the subway station, and there was 3 big supermarkets within a 5-minute walk of that. Within a 20-minute walk of my former flatmate's very nice flat. It's just an easier place to live. London is a hostile city that's hard to live in. I would never live in the US, and I come from the Balkans. Absolutely not. See, I would, depending on the place, I'd consider it. I've got a lot of friends in the US. Well, one of the issues of trying to get a job in the US is as a early career PhD. US universities don't consider UK PhDs as being as valuable as American ones, because they're although mine took 3.5 years, close to 4 years to actually write. They think that like American ones last 7 years, and they're mainly a form of making people do cheap teaching labour for that length of time, and you also don't need a master's to do it. UK PhDs, especially in humanities, you need a master's to even get in. But because it takes a lot longer, American universities don't consider just an early career researcher as a PhD is of equal value to an American early career researcher who just got their PhD, which means that the chances of getting a job in the US as a UK early career researcher are slim, very slim. Yeah, the only case in which I would move to the US would be if I had a job that had healthcare, because fuck that having. I mean, the UK is gonna get there soon enough, but having to pay for your fucking healthcare, it's just. Let's change up the music, and then maybe we'll talk about the Labour Party. Or maybe not. What kind of music are we thinking? I should do some more like do some more chatting while I figure stuff out. You can get by just not going to the doctor. I mean, I already kind of don't go to the doctor. I should. I get shit for not having a GP at this point. I'm technically still registered as a GP in Glasgow. I get like texts from this is bad. This does not reflect well on me, and I need to sort it out. I still get texts from a Glasgow GP surgery that I signed up to in 2016 that I I need to sort that shit out. There's a slim chance of getting a job in America with an American PhD. Look, I mean, same fucking deal in the UK, to be honest. Job that I'm applying for right now would be a perfect job for me. It's teaching on a human rights, a critical human rights and politics course that they need a sociology, someone who's just graduated in sociology, PhD in sociology, and has taught postgraduate courses, and has a connection with teaching human rights, and has a developing research portfolio in human rights, has experience teaching in virtual learning environments on human rights. And I have all of this stuff. I'm trying so hard with this application. I've got like 4 different people with eyes on it, giving me advice, things to do to make sure I get an interview. Fuck. If I don't get an interview for this fucking job, I'll be fuming. It's so difficult. It's really weird though, like, applying for jobs as like a early career researcher is strange. Because like the salary range is obscene. Like, on the one hand, you've got a job I applied for earlier this week. It's a part-time research assistant job for. Am I a doctor of sociology? I am a doctor of sociology. That is my title technically. So that means whenever Vosh says, I'm a sociology major, I'm like, well, fucking, I'm a doctor of sociology then, motherfucker. I could have easily have been, because the nature of my PhD was very interdisciplinary. Could have been politics, could have been political theory, could have been a number of things, but sociology is made sense because there's a developing subfield of sociology of rights that speaks to, and it's also, sociology departments are less filled with shitheads than politics departments. So I went for sociology. So I was applying for a job earlier this week that's different from the one that I really want. That's a research assistant job for like 2 days a week, and the pay is 16,000 a year. Which I'd be fine with if I honestly would. A job like that would do me very well. It only lasts until June, which is less good. But if I could get a part-time job, a research assistant job for about a year or so, that would work. That would be fine. It would give me enough money to live on in combination with YouTube, and I could, make some good videos and grow the channel and stuff in that time. That'd be fine. But there's a very different sort of approach to life when you're applying for a 16,000 a year part-time job compared to the one that I really want, which pays like 40,000 a year. And I've never been paid more than 20,000 a year. I have no idea what I would do with that money. And it's just like, it's a really bizarre thing to be imagining your future life as either like working hard away with 16,000 a year plus YouTube, and then having a job which is 40,000 a year, and you're like, just an entirely different ballpark of life that you've got to imagine. And it's like all of the job applications are like that. There's like one that's 14,000 a year and is a research assistant doing basic shit, shit that an undergraduate would have done about 10 years ago, but for some reason needs a PhD now. Versus associate professor jobs, which some universities are now hiring associate professors straight out of PhDs, and it's just like it's like impossible to pitch a consistent expectation of life. It's very strange. It's a very strange job market to be in.
For some reason my loop pedal is acting up. That's it. I'll come back to making this tune in a sec. My loop pedal's fucked up, so I'm gonna have to do this whole thing again, which is... I was liking that. We'll try again. Of course, the other part of it is that as I'm drinking more wine, I become less able to maintain a tune. But I like this one. I like how this one's going. So we're going to keep at it. some reggae influences in there. Thank you, AX Shinsel, for the super chat. Cheers. And yes, Conspiracy for the Equals, that was Glissando's for you. Alright, there we go. That took a bit longer than expected. We've got something. What's the time? 11:10. We started a bit later, so we're going to go on a bit later. We'll probably finish about past in about 20 minutes or so. But until then, let's still hang out for a bit longer. You know what's a fun thing? A glissando Elizabeth. I will do a glissando for you. Sort of sliding between notes like that. I was listening to the Pixies earlier this week. Doolittle, great album. And I was reminded, I hadn't listened to the Pixies in years, but I've been in bands, not for a while, but for a lot of my life I've been in bands, and I didn't realise until I listened to the Pixies again just how much influence the Pixies have had on the kind of music I make. A lot of the stuff we do here is disco and kind of funk and stuff, but even that sort of glissando stuff and some of the more dissonant stuff that I like throwing in, it's oh yeah, that's just straight from the Pixies. I hadn't even thought about it. My whole I used to be in bands, people were what's your sort of influences, and it'd be oh, Queens of the Stone Age, lots of Stroke stuff, some disco stuff, and I was yeah, no, that makes sense. And then I never listed the Pixies. But the Pixies were clearly much more influential on me than I realised. So, I guess we should finally just talk about the Labour Party. I've been teasing it all night. I guess we can all... Here's two things that I think are going to happen in the next year. Which is always a fun thing to say when you're a bottle of wine deep. Are they actual Pixies? They could be. Pixies, before we get to Labour and my predictions for the year, you know how there's bands which aren't similar, but who occupy the same space in your brain? The Pixies and Magnetic Fields are those two bands for me. The Pixies are a forerunner to grunge. Without the Pixies, there's no Nirvana, sort of thing. And Magnetic Fields are they make lots of really cute little songs, lots of very gay songs, and they're fucking brilliant. But for some reason, they occupy the exact same space in my brain. So I was listening to the Pixies and I was enjoying the Pixies, and maybe they are actual Pixies. The next thing I listened to was the song Andrew in Drag by Magnetic Fields, which is one of my all-time favourite songs. It's fucking brilliant. If you get a chance after this stream, not while I'm streaming, obviously, but after the stream, listen to Andrew in Drag by Magnetic Fields, and then listen to their whole 69 Love Songs album, which is brilliant. But yeah, for some reason they occupy the same sort of space in my head. Very different music. Anyway, yes, Labour. My two predictions of the year. For a few years now, lots of people who have newspaper columns in left adjacent magazines have been I've got something else I want to talk about. Have been talking about like the death of neoliberalism, and obviously I've made videos about this, and we don't have to rehash it all. The Labour Party today and yesterday have been coming out with talking about how there's no magic money tree, and how they have to increase benefits, increase caps for benefits, and increase a tax on people on benefits. Labour are going to win the election that's going to happen this year, and we are going to get an attempt to revive 2010 era Conservative policies as if they are progressive Labour policies. That's prediction number 1. Pretty confident in that. Prediction number 2, as we get closer to the American election between Biden and Trump, I almost said Obama there. Freudian slip. They're not that different. Between Trump and Biden, we are going to get increasing numbers of American progressives who will want to minimize and sweep under the rug genocide and America and Biden specifically, his role in perpetuating it. And that is only going to get worse the closer we're going to get to the election, the American election. So gear yourselves up, folks, for some deranged people in your mentions, some streamers who are members of the DSA. Here's my pitch for the DSA, by the way. If you are in the DSA, surrender your phone. I don't want to see your tweets. You know that you're all bad. You're bad at thinking and tweeting. Please surrender your phones. But they're not going to surrender their phones. They're going to make me look at their tweets about how Biden's not that bad, and try to minimize his complicity in genocide. That's going to happen. On a more fun note, I recently got cited in a blog post of a political a green political economist, and it was a blog post that was in reaction to Jacobin, who had published another strange, inaccurate takedown of degrowth arguments, which had no relation to anything anyone in the degrowth movement has ever said. It was a bizarre article. I'm gonna say bizarre. It was the same article that they write every fucking few months. And I wrote a whole thread about the various things that are, not that are like don't make sense within the article, that are contradictions, that are strange things to be pressed about in a socialist magazine. Things like planned economies and stuff like that. But I started off this thread with another slice of dog shit from the Jacobin. And like a few days later, I got this notification from a guy, a green political economist, saying, "Oh, I agree. Here's what I wrote on it." And I started reading it, and it started off with like, Jacobin has produced a controversial article in the past the other day. A number of people have expressed disappointments. Several academics saying such and such says this is an odd article that is filled with contradictions. Some saying this article could do with some more revision to help understand the actual topic at play. Some saying it is a strange article which doesn't quite engage with the relevant literature on the topic. Unless charitably, John Duncan says, another slice of dog shit. I was like, This is how you make a fucking impact. This is great. This is my what they call this is a critical a critical injuncture in a developing field. Another slice of dog shit. And that made me laugh. I posted that on I've got 3 academic group chats where people are often very serious, and then I send pictures of walls to people, and I posted that, and sometimes it's good to just cut through these various contradictions and just say, this is dog shit. This is dog shit. What you've written here is dog shit. I think that was the highlight of my week last week. And I wonder why I don't have a job. Oh well. Anyway, anyone else got any topics, any questions that they'd like to discuss? Any pressing? Oh, you know what? I finally finished Black Reconstruction. Been reading that since August. Let me... One of the things I did this week was go through Black Reconstruction and note all the bits and pieces that I think are valuable, because this is a book which is... I'm not sure I would recommend reading it. Cat? Oh, we can get the cat. I'll get the cat in a wee sec. I'll get the cat in a wee sec once I've talked about reading this. I'm not sure I'd recommend reading this because large chunks are... It's such a difficult book to read. Large chunks of it are so dull because they deal with the progression of bills through state legislatures in 1865. It's not thrilling. But once you've gone through all that stuff, and sometimes in the middle of that stuff, you get the most insightful thing in the world. Hence all the notes. I'm never going to read this whole thing again. The notes are going to be very valuable. What it made me realise is that someone, if they haven't already, needs to write a good abridged version of this book, which takes a lot of the evidence. Yeah, it does look a bit like American cheese. It takes a lot of the evidence because this is a kind of thing that history books did at the time, and obviously for Du Bois, as a black academic writing in the 30s, needed to substantiate his claims very, very strongly. He needed to produce a lot of evidence, but it does mean that stuff that's in this, reading stuff today, a lot of the stuff that's in the main body of the text should be or would be put in footnotes or bibliography or summarised and referenced to make a much more accessible and available book to read. Someone needs to do that with this book, because it's really it's so much of it is so good. The work on the material differences of race, not as just something that's just cynically manipulated by capital to produce divisions, but building on a notion within Marxism. Marx talked about the X factor. Is it Ignatieff? There's a Canadian Marxist, not Ignatieff, I can't remember his name right now. He talks about the X factor within Marx's work, which is talking about race. And focuses on Marx's discussion of Irish versus English workers and the production of race via the systematic lowering of the value of labour power. And and that's also really important for social reproduction theory stuff, which is obviously the stuff that I'm very interested in. And it clearly is influenced in a lot of Du Bois's work. I do not have the time nor expertise nor the right field sort of I don't exist within the right field to produce something like that for a book like this. I couldn't do it. The work that it would take to produce an effective abridged version of Black Reconstruction is immense. Not something. It's something you would need institutional funding to do, and a historical background, which I don't have. Someone who does, I know some historians. I'll get on it, convincing them to do it. But yeah, a lot of the stuff in Black Reconstruction is like very much empirical support for that basic Marxist tenet of race as in the capitalist world, not race as a trans-historical concept, but race as it exists under capitalism, being a particular serving a particular function in relation to the value of labour power and the material benefits that white labourers in the South gained from ensuring Black Reconstruction, a black dictatorship of labour, as he puts it, dictatorship of proletariat, couldn't succeed. And that is fucking interesting. That is such good shit. It's important, and I think it's stuff that most Marxists need to engage with and actually need to make part of their general analysis. Fucking brilliant. And there's wages of whiteness stuff. There's lots of good historical stuff about like the fear of retribution. You're getting a lot with Palestine right now. That if we don't commit genocide against Palestinians, then they will just murder everyone in Israel. And it's like, well, what that is exactly the same colonial feel of retribution that white people projected during Reconstruction, which never occurred. Freed black slaves, the free black societies never did that, but white societies continued to. And that is just that is incredible historical evidence, of great value that every single person needs to be well abridged of. But it's not something that you necessarily need to read the whole of Black Reconstruction to get. Unfortunately for people, there must be an abridged version of it. There must be. But yeah, very, very much. It's a strange thing where normally I'm like, oh yeah, I'd recommend you reading this book, but no, I don't recommend you read this book. I recommend you read good books that have developed ideas from it, because it's just very hard to get through. Like the first few chapters are great, and then you get into the legislature stuff, and you're like, oh my god. One of my next jobs is reading David Roediger's Wages of Whiteness, which is specifically on that notion of material, because Du Bois talks about it as like a psychological wage at some point. And I think it's more than that. I think it's more than a psychological wage. I think there's obviously a material benefit to whiteness that gets in the way of the material benefit of a united dictatorship of labour in the South at that time. And I think David Roediger expands on that, and I'm looking forward to reading David Roediger's book on it. I've read one of his books before. I read that for a very old video I did very early on in my YouTube career on the notion of white privilege, where I basically talked about racial capitalism without knowing I was talking about racial capitalism, because it wasn't a term that I'd become familiar with at that point. So I'm looking forward to reading more David Roediger. Anyway, yeah. Did someone else say something before I was talking about what did I think of Frantz Fanon's work? I think it's brilliant. Wretched of the Earth is an immense book. I find stuff that is psychological stuff difficult to engage with. I don't think, on a philosophical level, I get it, and I understand psychology as philosophy. I don't. I have some background in psychology. It was something I did as an undergrad, and I understand that there is particular limitations on doing that and frame ways of thinking. I just don't think it's a strong enough discipline, evidentially, to provide any kind of strong, rule on what a psychology of a particular thing means. And so when Fanon talks psychologically, and this is more of a case in Black Skin, White Masks than it is in Wretched of the Earth, but still is part of Wretched of the Earth as well, I find that stuff difficult to deal with and difficult to engage with. And it's the same, I've never managed to Lacan and that sort of school of Marxism is not one that I've ever been able to engage with particularly well, because I just sort of read it and go, But aside from the psychological aspect, then I find loads of it just when it strays less from medical psychology to philosophy, I'm more able to engage with it more. So in when Fanon talks about violence being a way in which the colonized reclaim their humanity, I get that. I can understand that as a psychology philosophy sort of a statement about gaining autonomy and about revolution and the challenging the nature of understanding of humanity, and flipping out that view that, obviously in colonization is immensely violent, but the moment that any of the colonized used violence to free themselves, it was another piece of evidence to view them as less than human, as animals. Same with slaves. Revolts in Haiti and slave revolts across the world were framed as sort of animalistic violence. And so the value of reframing that as a reclamation of humanity, of autonomy, makes a lot of sense to me. But as soon as you start talking about Freudian, Lacanian psychology, then I start to find it difficult to engage with, to actually react to. I mean, Frantz Fanon is obviously fantastic, and so much of his work is fantastic and so influential. And even Black Skin, White Masks, one of my favourite books, and one that I've recommended to two different students recently, is Glenn Coulthard, who's an indigenous scholar who lives in Canada. His book Red Skin, White Masks, where he talks about this the role of recognition as part of genocide, and he uses Black Skin, White Masks not psychologically though, but kind of philosophically and politically, to draw a connection between the ways in which recognition by the colonizer actually impinges on the humanity of the colonized, and to argue that things like recognition of treaty agreements and the subsumption of indigenous ways of life through the colonial state is part of genocide. And that book is wonderful. It's feels wrong to describe it as wonderful, but it's one of the best books. It's one of the best books I've ever read. One of the most influential books that I have. One of the most influential books I've ever read. I assume you mean Marxist books like Schizophrenia and Capitalism. I've not read that. I've read a lot of the time that my engagement with the psychoanalytic side of Marxism is obviously through Zizek to some extent, which is never a good sign because Zizek's shit. But also through Mark Fisher and Mark Fisher's acolytes, and I have limited time for both. Even like psychoanalytic stuff. I just read it and I think, yeah, but what if it's not like that? There doesn't seem to be like strong evidence for it, either sort of logical, philosophical and empirical evidence for a lot of the psychoanalytic stuff, which I find very difficult to deal with. I feel like I was going to say something, get onto something else, but I can't remember what it was. Being dinged on talking about genocide, yeah. Alright, if then no one has any more burning questions, anything that they'd like to talk about, we will start to draw this stream to a close. Oh, cats! Yes, yeah, I was gonna show the cat. Yeah, okay, yeah. Give me a sec. He was asleep, and he's already tried to eat the headphones. Yes, were you asleep? Don't have a wee sniff at the microphone. He might trust me completely, but he still is an asshole. You literally can't do anything with him. I've never known a cat would let me just do this. Be like, hey, and he is tired. He was fully asleep when I picked him up. So he's a bit tired. Wanna say hello? Hello to your fans. No, don't attack the microphone. Don't attack the microphone. Don't do that.
have seen the cat. He is purring. He likes this. Now that we've seen the cat, we will start to draw the stream to a close. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the patience with early on with the technical difficulties. Oh, he's going to start acting up in a minute. And yeah, thanks for sticking about. And hopefully, I'll try and get another video out soon. Yep. No, he's heard his litter tray being emptied, which means that he thinks he's going to get a treat in any second, so he's going to start acting up. So with that, I will bring the stream to a close, and I'll put music on for the last few minutes, as always. Thanks for coming along, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. He is very spoiled.